My mom was in the hospital and I talked with Ethan about sending her $1,000 to help cover the medical bills. He flipped out on the spot. You're a stay-at-home mom. And now you want to bankroll your mom too? Who do you think you are, Mother Teresa? Always asking me for money and now you're handing it out to your family. The irony? Just days later he asked me for $2,000. His boss's daughter was getting married and he needed a generous gift to curry favor. I stared at him deadpan. You've been unemployed for 6 months and you're still out here trying to network with cash you don't have? That same evening I'd spent hours in the kitchen preparing dinner. Right when I got everything on the table the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands and rushed to open the door. Ethan stood there with a sour face. The moment he stepped in he barked, "What took you so long?" I sighed. "I was cooking. You have a tea. Why do you always insist on knocking?" He let out that familiar annoyed sigh, the one that always came before a lecture. "See? Boys talking back. You can never just take what I say. What else are you even good at?" I didn't reply. He'd been under pressure lately, nothing going right with his job search, and I'd learned that staying silent avoided bigger fights. But tonight he had a lot to say. He glanced at the table and sneered. "Steak? What is this, a dinner party? With the way you shop, no wonder our budget's a mess." I swallowed my temper. "Hey, got it. No steak next time. James just called. My mom's been admitted to the hospital. She was dizzy, they still don't know why." He bit into a rib, grumbling, "The meat's tough. Next time cook it longer." That did it. My chest burned with fury. In his eyes, my mother being hospitalized didn't even outweigh a poorly cooked steak. I spoke quietly. "I want to send her $1,000. James said he doesn't have enough to cover the bills." For the past 6 months, Ethan had enforced this rule. Anything over $100 had to be cleared with him. At first, I brushed it off, until I bought a floor cleaner for $300 and he raged for an entire week saying I was wasteful. He'd even mocked me while chatting with the neighbors, making these subtle digs. I ended up crying. Then he brought me flowers and said, "I'm not mad that you spent money. I just wish you'd talk to me first, okay?" So I caved. I accepted his approval power. I reported everything. Every little thing. Even today, just asking for money to help my mom made me feel weirdly ashamed, like I was sneaking around doing something wrong. Ethan set down his chopsticks and looked at me. "Is this James putting you up to it?" I blinked, caught off guard. "No. He just told me mom's in the hospital. Emma's staying with her now. He said not to visit for a few days." Ethan let out a cold laugh. "The kind that crawled under your skin. Smart move on James's part. He knows he can't ask me, so he sends you instead." My brow furrowed. He went on, sarcasm thick. "You've been a stay-at-home mom for 3 years. Where's your income? If your brother needs money, he should ask me himself. But no, he knows better. So now you're the messenger. Do I look like an ATM? Or is your side of the family just a better investment than mine?" I looked at him and something in me chilled. He sat there eating the meal I'd spent all day preparing while tearing me down like I was worthless. I snatched the bowl from his hands. "With that mouth, you still think you deserve to eat?" He froze, then slammed his hand on the table and stood up, rage flashing in his eyes. I didn't back down. I was ready to let loose too, until we heard a key turning in the front door. Ethan's mom, Nancy, walked in carrying our son Noah. She looked exhausted and annoyed. "What is it now? Can't you two go a single evening without a blow-up?" Ethan didn't skip a beat. He turned to her, dripping with sarcasm. "What else could it be? Someone's trying to sneak money from me to send to her family, got called out on it, and now she's throwing a fit. At the end of the day, people need to know their limits. Don't go trying to offload your responsibilities onto someone else." Nancy gently swatted his arm. "Enough, Ethan. Lay off her. Michelle's going through a lot. Her mom's in the hospital. You always take her side," he muttered under his breath, clearly bitter. A small flicker of warmth stirred in me. At least Ethan's mother seemed reasonable. But a second later she slapped me across the face, figuratively with her words. "Michelle, at the end of the day, Ethan's the one bringing in the income. Supporting a whole household on a single paycheck isn't easy. You've got to cut him some slack. When it comes to money, be frugal. Spend within your means." I froze, stunned into silence. Seeing I wasn't talking back, she doubled down, even took my hand in hers like a sage elder delivering hard-earned wisdom. Let your brother handle your mother's situation. You need to remember which family you belong to now. Once you're married, your husband and child come first. Your old family, that's distant relatives. She emphasized those last two words like a final warning. Know your place. I slowly pulled my hand away and replied coldly, if that's how you see it, did you not give a single dime when Ethan's grandmother was in the hospital? Nancy's face changed instantly. That's not the same. Ethan exploded. You're seriously comparing your mom to mine? My mom has her own pension. How she spends it is her business, not yours. You're the one who can't stop begging for handouts. Every time you open your mouth, it's about money. That was it. The fury I'd held in all evening burst out. I slammed my hand on the table, matching his rage. Oh really? You think I quit my job for fun? I left because I was taking care of your mom. Remember 3 years ago when she landed in the hospital and you were so stressed you got sick too? We had 2 patients in the house and I couldn't keep up anymore. I volunteered to quit. You and your mom were so moved back then, said you'd never forget what I did for this family. What now? 3 years later and it's all just erased. Ethan scoffed. Don't blame my mom. No one forced you to quit. What, you really think you were better than a trained caregiver? Let's not kid ourselves. You couldn't even land a promotion and you were too embarrassed to stick around. Let's call it like it is. You keep waving that I sacrificed for the family flag, but I've had it up to here. What, you thought you were going to be an executive? Please, Michelle. I lifted my head slowly, my voice trembling. So that's what you really think? After everything. But I couldn't finish. I saw it in his face, that smug, self-assured look. And Nancy? She was rolling her eyes. So that's how they saw me. All this time they thought I was acting. That my so-called sacrifices were just emotional blackmail. But none of it was fake. After his mother was discharged, I got pregnant. Then came the baby, then came the endless cycle. Changing diapers, cooking, cleaning, feeding, bathing. I was running on fumes, covered in spit-up and exhaustion. Nancy helped, on paper. Her routine went like this. I cooked dinner, she held the baby. Once food was ready, she handed him back and sat down to eat. I washed dishes, she picked him up again. Once I finished, she returned him to me. So no, I didn't get a break. I got run ragged. But to Ethan she was some kind of saint. My mom practically broke her back helping with the baby. You should be grateful. How could I argue with that? If I said Nancy didn't help, she'd sob for hours. If I admitted she did, then why was I still so damn exhausted? That silent, bottled-up frustration. It crushed me day by day. Then one day online I saw a phrase, performative childcare. It hit like a lightning bolt. That was it. That was what I'd been living for 3 years. Doing everything, saying nothing, and still being told I was weaponizing sacrifice. Ethan was still smirking. What cat got your tongue? Where's all that fire now? I snapped. My hand flew up. But he leaned in, even more smug, daring me. Go ahead. Hit me. Let's see what you've got. Just as I was about to slap him, Nancy sprang forward like a coiled spring, throwing herself in front of him as if I were about to commit murder. Calm down. Can't you two just talk? Don't make this physical. And that's when I realized, none of this mattered. It didn't matter what I'd done. It didn't matter how much I'd given. It didn't matter how broken I felt. They never saw me. And they never would. So I turned around and walked out the door. And I didn't look back. I wandered the streets alone, aimless under the dim glow of the streetlights. Somehow, without meaning to, I found myself back in our old neighborhood. That house, we'd picked it together. Ethan had said his mom's knees weren't good for stairs, and the ground floor unit came with a front yard. He loved flowers and I liked gardening. It had felt like a good fit for everyone. Now I sat on the bench just outside that familiar little fence, staring at the warm light spilling from the windows. Would they regret it? Would it ever hit them that I was the one this family couldn't do without? I sniffled and forced back the tears that were threatening to spill. My phone buzzed. I snatched it up. Just a billing reminder. I sat frozen, my heart sinking. The truth hit me. I'd been waiting. Waiting for Ethan to swallow his pride. Waiting for him to offer me a way back that didn't feel humiliating. That dramatic exit of mine? It was mostly for show. For myself. Because deep down I had nowhere else to go. After staring at the screen for a long time, I finally tapped his number. I told myself, couples fight. Someone has to make the first move. It doesn't matter who apologizes. What matters is keeping the marriage together. The call rang once, then went silent. I tried again. This time a message popped up. The number you dialed is unavailable. You've been blocked by this user. He blocked me. I stared at the screen, stunned. In all the years we'd been married, that had never happened. We'd even made a promise when we first got together. No matter how bad the fight, no blocking, no silent treatment. And just like that, he broke it. Then I heard Nancy's voice from inside the house, clear through the yard. Stop drinking already, it's late. Just call Michelle, will you? Noah's been crying nonstop, I'm losing my mind over here. I can't keep up. Ethan's voice came next, slurred with alcohol and thick with bitterness. I'm not calling her. He's testing me. If I give in now, what? Next time she'll think she can rob me blind anytime she wants? This isn't about $1,000. It's about principle. I spend money on my family. Her mom's not my problem. I heard a glass slam onto the table, followed by his hollow laugh. I'm not lifting a finger. Let's see how long she lasts. She's broke, jobless, got no one to run to. She'll crawl back, just wait. Probably use the kid as an excuse too. The alcohol stripped away all his filters. All the venom he usually kept tucked behind a forced smile came pouring out. Independent woman, my ass. She's a leech who can't even afford to take care of her own mom. Lazy, fat, always crying. If she can't cook, what's left? Just another con looking for sympathy and handouts. He was right about one thing. This wasn't just about the money. It was about the fact that I'd poured myself into this family, through diapers and dinners, through exhaustion and self-denial, and he saw right through it. Saw that I didn't have the guts to leave. No plan. No backup. No safety net. That's why he felt so free to humiliate me. To trample on me. Because he thought I'd always come crawling back. He was smug because he had every reason to be. I clenched my jaw, glaring at the silhouette in the window. And then I stood up. No hesitation. I turned and walked away. I found a tiny studio apartment on the outskirts of New Jersey. It had a kitchenette, peeling walls, and just enough space for a bed and a chair. But it was cheap. And it had a window. Moving from a tidy, peaceful house with a garden to this worn little unit should have made me feel pathetic. But surprisingly, I felt calm. No sudden shouting from Ethan. No judgmental sighs from Nancy. No middle of the night crying from Noah. For the first time in years, I slept the whole night through, without anyone needing me, yelling at me, or tapping on my shoulder. And God, it had been so long since I felt that kind of rest. But waking up was another story. Reality was rough. 3 years out of the workforce had left me completely disconnected. I tried reaching out to old coworkers, hoping there might be an opening somewhere. One of them told me the company had gone bankrupt late last year. I sent out dozens of resumes. My inbox stayed as quiet as a tomb. Every read with no reply felt like a tiny punch to the gut. My bank account was down to $896. I was starting to panic. I remembered when I first became a stay-at-home mom, I had about $30,000 saved up. That cushion made me feel secure, like I'd never go hungry no matter what. No, it felt like I was balancing on the edge of a cliff with no safety net. After that, Ethan got hooked on high-yield investments. He kept pushing me to open an account, saying, "How are we supposed to turn things around if we don't take some risks?" He talked a big game, made it all sound smart and strategic. And just like that, my 30 grand vanished into a black hole, never to be seen again. He spiraled. Me. I was the one comforting him. It's okay. That's just how investing works. There's always risk. Nothing's guaranteed. Looking back, I can't believe how stupid I was. He lost my money and I was the one patting his back, telling him it wasn't his fault. After that, he started transferring $2,000 a month into my account. That was supposed to cover groceries, diapers, formula, his mom's supplements, and her medication for chronic conditions. No matter how carefully I budgeted, it was never enough. So he gave me a joint credit line, $7,500. Called it my emergency backup. He made it sound generous, but in reality, I had access, not control. With a single click, he could freeze it. Once we had a fight. He shut the card down on the spot. I was burning up with a fever that day, head pounding, and I couldn't even buy myself a bottle of ibuprofen. Later, he told me flatly, "That was just a little lesson. So you'll remember not to overstep." Somewhere along the way, he'd pulled my limits lower and lower, until I was crawling through dust and didn't even notice. My phone buzzed. It was my landlord reminding me that rent was due. I stared at the screen for a few seconds and the tears came no matter how hard I tried to hold them back. How had I ended up here? I used to believe that if I worked hard, stayed kind, and compromised, I'd earn a stable, loving home. All I'd earned was a drafty studio apartment and a bank account that echoed back at me. Was this really it? Was I supposed to swallow my pride, go crawling back, apologize to Ethan just so I could be his sidekick again? His dependent, his emotional punching bag? The phone rang again. Unknown number. I sniffled, wiped my face and picked up. A few minutes later I sat there blinking at my call log, stunned. I had a job interview. I nearly jumped off the couch in excitement. But the moment I pulled up the company's website, my stomach dropped. The CEO's name was listed as Lisa Grant. Lisa Grant? Name? Oh. No way. It was her. The Lisa I used to work with 3 years ago. We'd been colleagues. Now she was CEO, and I was a job seeker walking in with a resume and crossed fingers. I clutched my purse strap a little tighter, suddenly stiff. She glanced up from her desk and gave me a once-over. Her voice hadn't changed a bit, still sharp as glass. I actually thought it was just someone with the same name. But nope, Michelle Carter. Gotta say you're not looking your best. I lifted my chin a little, trying to keep my voice light. I'm doing fine. My husband lets me manage the household finances. I just thought staying home was getting a little boring. Wanted something to pass the time. She tilted her head with a slow, deliberate smile. Looking for something to pass the time? That tracks. Very on brand for you. Then a shift in her tone, still cool but more cutting. You know, if all you ever wanted was to be a homemaker, you really didn't have to go head-to-head with me for that promotion back then. When you backed out, the boss used you as the perfect example. See? This is why you can't put women in leadership. They're too emotional. After that, no woman in our department got promoted again. She paused, arching a brow. So in a way, I guess I owe you. That was the moment I said screw it and launched my own company. My head dropped. The tips of my ears burned. She kept going with a sharpness that didn't even try to hide. And wow, you've gained what, 30-40 pounds? I dropped my gaze, cheeks hot. Those years I was constantly cooking, serving, finishing everyone's leftovers. Just so I wouldn't be accused of wasting food. What, you can't even finish that? Why not just cook less next time? That's what Ethan and Nancy always said. So I became the family's walking garbage disposal. Other people gain weight from indulgence. I gained it from suppression and survival. Lisa wasn't done. Not even close. Seriously, what happened to you? I mean, look at you. That body, what the hell? Thanks for your time. The words barely left my lips before I was already grabbing my bag and standing up. I shouldn't have come. The round-trip bus fare alone could have covered a decent dinner. But then her voice came from behind me, calm and deliberate. Design assistant. Trial period. $3,500 a month. I stopped mid-step. The company's small, she continued. No such thing as 9 to 5. The pace is intense. There was a challenge in her voice. I can handle it. I turned around, eyes steady. She tilted her head. The title says, assistant, but as you can see, we're short-staffed. You might be doing a little bit of everything. No problem. Lisa, whatever you need, I'm in. He finally smiled. A little exasperated, a little impressed. I always believed in your work ethic. But don't forget you've been in neutral for 3 years. So let's be clear. If you don't make it through the trial period, I won't hesitate to cut you loose. Then her tone softened unexpectedly. Consider this my way of repaying you, for bringing me meals back when I was in the hospital. I blinked. The memory came rushing back. Those nights she was hospitalized with gastric bleeding. The hospital was near my place. I was juggling a newborn and housework, but I'd still drop off dinner for her on my way home. I hadn't thought much of it. But she'd remembered. Meanwhile, the people who should have remembered the 3 years I gave up for them had all taken it for granted. Lisa picked up a stack of papers from her desk. Her voice was level again. We've got staff housing. Nothing fancy, nowhere near what you were used to, but it's close to the office. Makes it easier when you're stuck working late. If you need a place, ask HR after you're officially on board. I took a slow breath. My chest felt tight, but for the first time in a long time I felt solid. Steady. Thank you, Lisa. As I stepped out of her office, my phone buzzed. It was Ethan. After 2 months of silence, this was the first time he'd reached out. I opened the message and almost laughed out loud. All right, enough is enough. You're not a teenager running off to your mom's every time we fight. Pick up some groceries on your way home. Your mom's craving your baked salmon. Oh, and grab her a little something too, she's worn out from watching Noah lost a bunch of weight. I actually snorted. He still thought I was at my mother's place? If he cared even a little, he could have texted her, called her, asked anyone where I was. It would have taken 2 minutes to find out I hadn't gone there at all. But he didn't bother. He just waited, smug and sure, assuming I'd come crawling back on my own. Honestly, if he'd sent this message a day earlier, before I got the job, I might have taken the out. I might have told myself it was a step toward reconciliation. But life didn't hand him that timing. Without hesitation, I typed my reply. Fuck off. Working under Lisa was like living inside a machine that never stopped whirring. It was 24/7. Even when I did sleep, I dreamed of mood boards and deadlines and never-ending revisions. Lisa would sigh from time to time and say, if you hadn't short-circuited and quit, you'd be running your own team by now. You've got real talent. 3 months in, I'd gone from an XL to a medium. No gym, no fad diets. Just pure adrenaline and stress metabolism. The day I got my official contract, Lisa asked me, you able to travel? If you can land this client, your year-end bonus'll look like this, she added, holding up a hand with fingers spread, more zeros than I'd seen in years. I lit up. I was already nodding when she added, almost too casually, don't say yes too fast. Think it over. It's a 2-year assignment. No backing out halfway. I froze. 2 years. My gaze dropped to the floor. 3 years ago, just after my promotion, I'd been asked to lead a regional market launch in Philly. 6 months to a year. But then Nancy got sick. Ethan was crumbling under pressure, split between work and hospital visits. Later, Ethan ended up in the hospital too, burned out physically and emotionally. I gritted my teeth and hired a nurse to help care for them both. But no matter how good the help was, they couldn't handle the little things, Ethan's food allergies, his mother's emotional meltdowns, negotiating with doctors. Those were mine to manage. Mine alone. Work had already lost patience with my constant time off. One of my competitors swooped in and took over my accounts. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I resigned. Ethan didn't ask me to. He didn't say a word. I gave it up. On my own. He wasn't wrong about that. But now here I was standing at a new crossroads. And this time I wasn't afraid to choose. I was just about to tell Lisa I'd take the job when my phone buzzed again. It was my mother. Her voice was layered, somewhere between hesitant and resigned. Sweetheart, I heard about the fight between you and Ethan. He came over today with his mother and Noah. Maybe you should come by. It's time to talk things through. I let out a long breath. He was right. Some things don't just disappear. You can't outrun what needs to be faced. The moment I stepped through the door, Ethan was already talking. So where the hell have you been? I thought maybe you were staying at your mom's helping her out, so I didn't want to pressure you to come back. But turns out, what? You were off on vacation. He gestured around the room, voice rising. Can you grow up a little? Look at my mom. She's lost weight from how hard it's been taking care of Noah. Nancy chimed in right on cue, looking utterly fragile. As long as you two are doing okay, I can handle the stress. But Michelle, you've had your little break for a few months now. Isn't it time to pull yourself together? They were perfectly in sync, playing their roles with conviction. When my mother was sick, they didn't so much as ask how she was doing. But now, they'd flipped the script, casting me as the one who abandoned her family, running off for fun, selfish and heartless. And even though I'd already let go of any hopes for them, watching it unfold still stung. They weren't just ignoring my mother. They were working overtime to cut me off from her. Noah had been sitting quietly in the corner, but suddenly his lips trembled and tears welled up in his eyes. I felt my chest tighten. My tone softened instinctively. Ethan, if you're going to throw accusations, at least stick to the facts. You know exactly how much is in my account, especially since you froze the linked one. Where was I going to get money to go on vacation? I paused, then looked him in the eye. I've been working. I started a new job. He blinked, surprised, but not enough to hide the sneer tugging at his mouth. You've been out of the game for 3 years. What kind of job would you even get? Let me guess, fast food? Passing out flyers on the street. He waved a hand dismissively. Whatever. I don't care. You've made your point, you can still get a job. Great. Now quit. I've got work all day and I'm up with Noah all night. I haven't had a full night's sleep in months. He said it like I'd been off at a spa and he'd been single-handedly keeping civilization alive. But I remembered, very clearly. I'd lived that life for 3 years. My voice stayed calm. Really? Sounds like my last 3 years. That's not the same, Nancy cut in, her voice sharp and rising. You got to nap during the day. My mother finally spoke, her tone frosty. Nancy, that's not fair. She stepped forward, arms crossed. When you were sick, you needed water at midnight, the bathroom at 2, and by morning you were giving orders like a drill sergeant. You ran off every nurse we hired. Michelle was the only one left standing. She kept this house running without a word of complaint. And when you finally got better, she was the one who collapsed. Couldn't get out of bed for a month. If it weren't her own decision to stay and take care of you, I would have taken her home long before that. Nancy's face flushed red. She was speechless. Ethan scowled. My mom was sick. People get sensitive when they're unwell. But she apologized, didn't she? She even gave Michelle a necklace to say sorry. I let out a quiet, flat laugh. She showed me a necklace, I corrected. Then smiled and said, I'll hold on to it for you. And took it right back. The room went dead quiet. So quiet I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. After a long pause, Nancy began to sob softly. I really just wanted what was best for you too. I was wrong. When we get home, I'll give you the necklace. I'll even buy you a pair of earrings to make up for it, okay? Ethan whipped his head toward me, eyes blazing. There. Happy now. I looked at him and smiled, cold and clean. What is this, then? A peace offering? You two here to soften me up? Convince me to come home. I turned to my mom. Did they tell you why I left? Nancy's crying cut off instantly. And Ethan? The blood drained from his face. I had spent years hiding the truth from my mom, so she wouldn't worry. I told her Nancy helped with the baby, but never explained how helping actually worked in that house. I never mentioned the quiet, creeping ways Ethan and Nancy punished me for simply existing. How I'd cook a full dinner and Ethan would grab a plate and disappear into the bedroom. Nancy would stretch out on the couch with her headphones in, neither of them sitting at the table, neither even looking at me. Just silence. A silent protest I was meant to decode. And the worst part? I never knew what I was being punished for. Sometimes they'd smile at me out of nowhere and I'd feel relief like oxygen. I'd smile back and pretend everything was okay. But the moment one of them so much as frowned, I'd freeze. My brain would start spinning. Was dinner too salty? Did I say something wrong? Their moods ruled my body like puppet strings. I later realized what it was: control. Carefully packaged emotional regulation tailor-made for me. And I'd let myself get tied up in it, tighter and tighter, until I didn't even recognize the prison I was in. As I finished speaking, I noticed my mom. She was crying. James, my brother, had been standing off to the side this whole time. His fists were clenched so hard his knuckles were white. And then he moved. He grabbed Ethan by the collar and threw a punch hard and fast. Nancy shrieked, lunging to protect her son, but Emma, James's wife, stepped forward and blocked her without flinching. Little Noah burst into tears, his cries filling the entire living room. Nancy's voice dropped low, trembling with guilt. We were wrong. Michelle went through a lot. But for Noah's sake, can't we all just stay a family? Ethan, still holding his face, barked in frustration. Fine. You want money? I'll give you $4,000 a month, cash. Happy now? I'm polite to everyone outside all day long, and when I get home I just want to drop the act. That's it. I wasn't trying to be abusive. And don't come at me with that emotional neglect label. Half the time you didn't say anything either. So that makes us even, right? If you want me to smile more, fine. I'll smile. Whatever you want. He stood up and started waving his hand toward the ceiling like he was testifying in court. If I ever hurt you again, may I rot in hell. I laughed bitterly, but inside I was stone cold. There's a certain type of man whose apology is treated like gold. Like no matter what he's said or done, all he has to do is cry or kneel or slap himself across the face and everyone starts whispering, look how sorry he is. And if you still can't forgive him, well then you're the problem. You're the ungrateful one. Unreasonable. Like now. My mother looked at him on his knees, visibly moved. She started to say, Michelle, look at Ethan, he seems genuinely sorry. I didn't respond. Instead, I took out my phone, opened a video file and hit play. Ethan's voice, loud and venomous, filled the room. You're useless. You're a damn leech. I work all day and come home to a kitchen that smells like garbage and a woman who just wants to suck me dry. Silence. Like a lid sealing shut on a boiling pot. Ethan's face twisted in shock. You installed cameras in the house? James surged forward again and slapped Ethan across the face so hard it echoed. My mother's face went cold. She looked at Ethan like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. All of this, because my daughter wanted to send me a little money to help with my medical bills? That's what brought out this in you. Whatever pride Ethan had left shattered in that moment, his face burning red with shame, his mouth hanging open with nothing to say. Nancy panicked. She waved her hands, stumbling over her words. No, that's not what happened. It's all my fault. I went to the doctor recently. He said my health was declining, that I needed to start watching my diet, take better care of myself. Ethan found out and got really anxious. He drank too much that night. He didn't mean what he said. It was nonsense, all of it. If you're angry, Michelle, blame me. Hit me if that makes you feel better. Go ahead, just hit me. As she spoke, she grabbed my hand and tried to press it against her cheek. I yanked it away instinctively. She lost her balance and stumbled backward, crashing to the floor with a thud. Mom. Ethan rushed over. He didn't ask what happened, didn't even look at me. His hand came down fast and hard, slapping me square across the face. I stood there, stunned, my cheek on fire, staring at him, at the rage boiling in his eyes. And then I snapped. Without thinking, I lifted my leg and kicked him. Hard. Ethan doubled over, gasping in pain, a howl tearing out of him. Nancy burst into tears, trying to lunge at me, but Emma stepped in and yanked her back by the arm. It was chaos. Ugly, messy, loud. Ethan, now bruised and humiliated, scrambled to leave, muttering curses under his breath. But even as he staggered to the door, he couldn't resist one last jab. My mom's not well, I have to work, and you're still the kid's mother. Noah is your responsibility. Don't think you can just dump him on me. And don't forget, this isn't your house. You want to play the victim? Let's see how long your mother puts up with you before she gets tired. And when that happens, don't come crawling back to me. Before I could speak, my mom slammed the door shut behind him. She stood holding Noah, who was still sniffling, and let out a long sigh. Michelle, how were you ever supposed to survive in a house like that, all on your own? James pulled me aside gently, his voice low and apologetic. He was right about one thing. Mom's care should have been on me, not you. That's my responsibility, not yours. And okay, I get it, he's been sending money and you haven't been working, so yeah, he probably felt some type of way. But still, today crossed a line. And I made sure he felt that. He pulls anything like that again, he won't walk away without consequences. So seriously, don't waste your breath fighting him about money. It's not worth it. Emma chimed in, soft but firm. If you can just call Linda once in a while, come home for the holidays, sit and talk with her, that's more than enough. No one's expecting you to pay for anything. My mom nodded in agreement. I've got my pension. And I'm fine. Just the occasional dizzy spell from low blood pressure. Nothing major. Don't worry. Then she shot a sharp look at James. And you, why'd you even tell her I was sick? You scared her for nothing. James scratched the back of his head and looked down sheepishly. My mom sighed, tired but resolute. You're not alone, Michelle. You've got a whole family behind you. But you have to stop shrinking. You've got to stand up. James pounded his chest. Emma's gonna clean out the guest room. Stay as long as you want. Me. I'm not letting this go. Ethan's getting an apology beat down, 3 rounds minimum. Guy thinks he's tough? Let's see him talk with a split lip. Emma nodded firmly. They bully you because you're too understanding. Next time Ethan shows up, I'll be right here. He wants to shout. I'll shout louder. The 3 of them stood in front of me, eyes burning, voices full of conviction. To them, this mess was something that could have been prevented, if I'd just said something sooner. If I hadn't tried so hard to keep up appearances. If I hadn't been so scared to ask for help. Maybe they were right. In that house, I'd become a machine. Wipe the coffee table, see dust on the floor, grab the mop. While mopping, notice the greasy film on the range hood, climb up and clean that. Finish the kitchen, realize the spice jars are running low, go out again, rain or shine. Over and over. day after day, spinning like a top, never stopping. Nancy used to sweep her finger along the kitchen countertop like a prosecutor inspecting a crime scene. Every time she did, I would stop breathing, just hoping for one approving nod. When we came back from family outings, Ethan would crash on the couch to play video games. Nancy would head upstairs to hers. Me, I'd head straight to the kitchen, laundry, dinner, cleaning. Everyone was tired, but only I was denied the right to rest. I had to stay on, all the time. No breaks. No off switch. Worn down. Burned out. I was done. I lifted my head, my voice calm and steady. I want a divorce. This time no one was going to talk me out of it. I rented a one-bedroom apartment right near Mom's building, close enough for comfort, far enough for breathing room. I hired a full-time nanny to look after Noah. That way Mom could drop in if she wanted, but didn't have to break her back helping every day. Honestly, the new setup reminded me of something from a while ago. Back when I herniated a disc from overexertion, I could barely get out of bed. I'd asked Ethan if we could get help around the house. Maybe a part-time nanny or cleaning service. He laughed. Sneered, actually. Your mom's home all day, isn't she? What more do you want? I'm out there killing myself for this family, and you just want to sit home and live like royalty? His tone made it sound like I was some spoiled parasite. But now, I pay for rent, childcare, groceries, and I still have more than half my paycheck untouched in the bank. All he's got left is a loud mouth. Right as I was heading to the airport for a business trip, my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. It was Ethan, and his voice was acidic. You just left Noah with some random woman? Are you even trying to act like a mother anymore? I want you home now. If you don't come back, we're getting a divorce. I looked at the line forming at the gate, then replied in a tone as flat and precise as a weather report. Great. Tomorrow it is. Your pick, law firm or courthouse. There was a beat of silence. Then he erupted. You think you can win? Go ahead and divorce me. I won't pay a dime in child support. You'll be stuck raising a kid while juggling some pathetic job. Come home now and I'll drop it. You can manage my salary again. That's what you wanted, right? I almost laughed. Actually, I earn more than you now. So here's a better idea. You quit your job, stay home with Noah, and I'll hand you my salary card. Sound good? He paused. A beat too long. Then his voice cracked. What kind of joke is that? That's not the same. How is that the same? I hung up before he could finish. A couple days later, Mom called. Her voice was tight with stress. Ethan called the police. Said the nanny kidnapped Noah. She got scared and quit on the spot, packed up and left. She took a breath. Want to guess what happened next? He turned around and dropped Noah right back off at my place and warned us, try hiring another nanny and I'll call the cops again. I closed my eyes, my temples throbbing. At work, Lisa was rifling through folders when she looked up and asked, You about to ask for time off? I didn't answer. She glanced at me, smirked. Don't tell me you're quitting again. I get it, motherhood and all that. It's hard to let go. I nodded slowly. You're right. But I'm not quitting. I'm bringing Noah home. I knew, renting my own place, hiring help, making moves. There was no hiding it from Ethan. But I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd show some understanding. That he'd realize my mom was older now and still trying to help. That I was trying to balance a new career and parenting. That if he really didn't want his own mom exhausted, he'd just step aside. Instead, he chose the nastiest route. He called the cops. Just to corner me. Just to force me back. Lisa's fingers flew across her keyboard as she muttered. Unbelievable. All this time he looked so polished, so respectable. Turns out he's got claws under that collar. Damn. Hard to even comment. I tilted my head and looked at her screen. He was chatting with someone named Mike. I remember you used to work with Ethan Carter from Smith & Company, right? A few seconds later, Mike replied, Yeah, why? Lisa followed up, casual as ever. Heard he's made quite the scene in the industry lately. A moment later, Mike sent back a curious smile emoji. Lisa typed her final line, calm and calculated. Let's grab lunch sometime. I'd love to catch up. Just like that. One offhand gossip and a few lines of small talk, and she'd effortlessly reignited a dormant client relationship. Sometimes gossip works better than a resume. Not long after, we confirmed that Ethan was having a rough time at work. He'd been called out on poor performance and was now floundering under pressure. I didn't wait any longer. I went ahead and brought Noah back. Honestly, I'd planned to wait until things were more stable to slowly work out the custody details. But Ethan's stunt with the police had made the decision for me. Once the project hit its groove, my schedule loosened up. I started bringing Noah to Mom's a few times a week for dinner. She would hold him like he was the sun in her hands, her whole face lighting up. But the police call? It haunted her. One night, as she spoon-fed Noah mashed potatoes, she muttered between clenched teeth. "You already had a nanny. I'm not exactly lifting heavy things at my age. I was just checking in from time to time." That was too much for him to handle. "You really thought this man was going to be considerate?" "Never. Since you've already walked out, don't look back. You're my daughter. You deserve better." I nodded. Something warm flickered in my chest. But Ethan. He didn't seem to realize we were past the point of no return. He thought I'd wear myself out. That I'd cave. When he saw I wasn't budging, he started lurking near my building. Every few days he'd just appear. Mom and I would walk right past him with Noah, heads high, never sparing him a glance. He tried calling out to my mom. "Linda." She didn't slow down. "Don't talk to me. I don't know you." He crouched down to Noah's level. "Come on, buddy. Say, Daddy." Mom snorted. "Yeah, that's your biological father. The one who wants the title but none of the responsibility. And a real champ with 911, huh?" Ethan froze. Speechless. I looked him straight in the eye. "So, have you made up your mind? Are we actually doing this? You really want a divorce?" He forced a smile, stiff around the edges. "Sure. I know I messed up. Can we talk?" We sat down in a nearby cafe. He slid a folder across the table. Deed to the house, bank book, his paycheck card. "It's all here," he said. "I'll sign whatever you want. Just come home." I stirred my coffee slowly, eyes steady. "Come home? To what? Asking you for grocery money every month like I'm begging for allowance? And if you're feeling generous, you toss me a few hundred and I'm supposed to be grateful? No, it's not like that, just hear me out, okay? I'm listening." He kept his head low. His voice was tight. "We've been together since college. You know I'm not that kind of guy. Your mom, she's my family too. It's not that I didn't want to help. $1,000. Come on." He let out a breath. "Work was bad. Really bad. Commissions got cut, my performance took a hit. And then you started saying how tight money was, and then you asked for more, for your mom." I freaked out. I was already cracking and then you added more pressure. I didn't know how to carry both sides of the family. He paused again. "Then you said your mom was sick," and I snapped. "My mom told me to call the cops. Said you'd panic about Noah and come running. I wasn't thinking. I just listened to her." He looked at me, then eyes searching. "I never meant to hurt you." I felt nauseous. Every excuse, company problems, his mother, me, everyone was to blame except him. I leaned forward a little, my voice soft but razor sharp. "Those first 2 months after I left, every night I sat on the bench outside the house. I just watched Noah through the window. You knew that, didn't you?" His eyes widened. No, I didn't. If I'd known, I would have come out. I would have said something. Michelle, if you'd just told me." I gave him a slow, bitter smile. "I was connected to the house Wi-Fi. Every night before you logged onto your games, you'd check the device list. You saw my phone. You knew I was there." His face went blank. "And you still went ahead. You still talked shit about me, called me useless, lazy, said I blew through money like water. You knew I was listening. And you said it because I was listening. You wanted to break me. Make it so I'd never come back." His face drained of color. Sweat broke out across his brow. I didn't stop. "There was another time. You brought that single female coworker over for dinner. Sat her down in the garden I built with my own hands. What was that? Insurance? Just in case I dared to come back." He looked away. "I just wanted to teach you a lesson." I pulled the documents from the folder and laid them out one by one. The house. We both paid half the down payment. My name's already on the deed. Your paycheck card? You could cancel that and get a new one anytime. What do I want it for? The savings account? Your mom's the one who handles the big money anyway. You really think I give a damn about what's in there? Then I looked up at him and said, cold as ice. "Let's divorce. Honestly, just the sight of your stinginess makes me sick." His eyes filled with tears. His voice caught. "Don't do this, Michelle, for Noah's sake. He needs his dad. I raised an eyebrow. Does he even know you? You've seen him what, twice this year? To him, the mailman is more familiar than you. He had nothing to say. He turned and walked away like a man fleeing a crime scene. A few days later, I used Ethan's information to apply for a small loan. It wasn't much, just enough to rattle him. I sent him a text. Just a little test run. Next time I might go bigger. If you want to spend your life drowning in debt, by all means stay legally tied to me. He actually responded, dead serious. Marital debt is shared. I know you're testing me. Don't worry, I'm not giving up on us. I didn't reply. Instead, I took out 2 more loans in his name. Then I took screenshots and sent them straight to Nancy. She spammed my inbox with over a dozen voice notes, shrieking furious. Ethan messaged me practically pleading. You didn't really take out loans, right? That's not like you. You're smart, frugal. You wouldn't do something like this. Then one day when he missed a payment, a few tattooed debt collectors showed up outside his apartment. He panicked. The next morning he dragged me to the courthouse and filed for divorce. Once everything was signed, he looked at me almost wistful. If I'd just given you that $1,000 in the beginning, would we still be together? I didn't say a word. But inside, 1,000 thoughts spiraled. When a man truly believes you can't leave, that you're his to keep, to discard, to ignore, that marriage was already broken. It was never about that $1,000. It could have been anything. We lasted as long as we did because I kept stretching myself thinner, making myself smaller. But when love runs out, so does patience. And I didn't owe him any further explanation. He'd never hear anything he didn't want to. I just nodded. He walked off with his head down, like a boy who'd finally realized the world could say no to him. Meanwhile, I moved forward. My career took off. Lisa promoted me to oversee the entire Santa Clara region. I became regional director. Soon, I was also managing Lisa's special accounts, a fancy name for high-level client relationship building. Then I heard Ethan remarried. To that same coworker he once brought to my garden. Nancy got sick again. But this time no one came running. She drove off her home nurse with her demands and turned to the new daughter-in-law. But that woman wasn't me. She didn't even flinch, just packed Nancy's bags and dropped her off at a care facility. Nancy escaped a few days later and stormed into Ethan's office in hysterics, dragging the new wife into a screaming match right in front of his boss and co-workers. She made such a scene it was like watching live reality TV. Ethan, mortified. He quit on the spot and never went back. Word has it Nancy still mutters. Michelle would have never let it come to this. If only she were still here. The only reply she got was the sound of her new daughter-in-law slapping the table, and maybe her. 2 years later, Ethan texted me. Michelle, I know I messed up. Could you lend me $2,000? My old boss's daughter is getting married. I'm hoping to attend, give a nice gift, maybe get a chance to talk, see if I can get a job again. I didn't even blink. You're an unemployed man living off handouts. You can't even pay rent, and you think gifting your way into a job is going to work. My tone was cutting. It was the mirror image of how he used to speak to me. He went silent for a few seconds, then hung up. Soon after, he stopped paying child support. I didn't argue. I filed a lawsuit. In court, he looked at me and sighed. Michelle, you're doing great now. Is this really worth dragging me over a little support money? I looked him dead in the eye and said loud and clear. It's not about the money, Ethan. It's about boundaries. You cross one line and you'll keep crossing more. I won't let it slide. Unless you're ready to legally forfeit any claim to future parental support from Noah, I'm taking this all the way. He clenched his jaw, furious but helpless. Eventually, he signed the legal release, formally waiving any future right to be supported by the child he once ignored. There's no such thing as true empathy, not really. Until someone lives through it, they'll never grasp the full weight of your struggle. But me. For the first time I felt it, that weight lift. And I finally let go. Of all of it.